guys, it's Mrs. C here. I've got Cycle 3, Week 2, new grammar. This is updated for the 5th edition, so I really didn't change a lot from the last time we did Cycle 3, but because I want consistency and everything to be updated to the new information, I'm redoing all of these. So we started off with geography like we normally do. And I had them draw letters in the different states that went along either with the capital or the state. So Vermont, I always remember it's different than New Hampshire because it is shaped kind of like a V. So we drew a V in Vermont. We drew a big A kind of angled in New York. If you kind of go from the pointier tip up and down and draw lines, we did A for Albany, New York. For New Jersey, we drew a J in it. You can kind of do a J shape in there for New Jersey. We drew a big fat H for Pennsylvania, for Harrisburg. And then we did a little D in Delaware for Dover, Delaware. So, of course, you have to say, are you well aware of Dover, Delaware? So that's what we did for geography, really simple. We went over them, and each time I introduced a new state, we would go back and do the other states we had already done. So we repeated them several times, that way just starting and doing Montpelier, Vermont, Albany, New York, and going down through that. So that was geography. For English, we did, I had this little box. I used this the last time through. It served me well from the dollar store. So it's just a little birthday box, and we're not doing food on our campus as treats this year, so I had these little bookmarks. I think I bought them a couple years ago. I had them down in my supply stuff from Target and the dollar spot. So, but there's little bookmarks in there, and we sang about a present participle to the tune of Happy Birthday. So it went, the present participle is a verb plus ing used as an adjective or a verb. So we sang that, and I happen to have 6 kids in my class, so I sang it once first, and then I passed the present around, and then I would joke with them and clap and be like, I'm so glad you had a birthday, and they thought it was funny for me being silly, and would joke and say, oh, you look really good for 100, you know. Some of them got very offended on. They're like, no, I'm 5. I'm not 100. So, and then they would take one of the bookmarks out of here. So, all right. Then for timeline, I used my handy dandy timeline cards. And I just laid them out on the table. This is really simple today. Laid them out on the table. We went through the hand motions, then I would have them close their eyes, and I would take a card away and would see if they could figure out which card I took away. So the hand motions for this week start with 7 wonders. So you're gonna take your fingers and go like this, like your brain's spinning and you're wondering and thinking about things. So 7 wonders of the ancient world. And then you have the patriarch. So you're gonna put your thumb to your head like this with your fingers pointed up, kind of like you do when you're doing a chicken at somebody. And then you're gonna bring it down with your pinky up now, just your pinky, for Israel. So patriarchs, this means father of Israel, okay? And then we have Hittites and Canaanites and Cush. So the official motions are not what I do, only for this one, because from the beginning I have done it this way, and it's just way more fun for the kids. And really the hand motions are just there to help them remember it. So if you want the official ones, you can go on to the CC Connected in the extra section and look at the timeline hand motions. But the motions that I do only for these, all the rest of them are official, are Hittites, you're gonna punch, Canaanites, you push again, and then Cush, you bring your knee up like you're doing a jab. Cush, okay? And it's just more fun. Hittites, Canaanites, Cush. Okay, and then back to the official ones. We have Assyrians. The Assyrians were known for their bows and arrows, so you're gonna pull back on your bow and arrow. Assyrians, and then Babylonians is you're making a B with your hand. And then China Shang Dynasty, you're going to put your hands together and bend like we're bowing to the king, because the dynasty was the rulers of China. So, all right, that was timeline. For history, we had, I don't have them with me, but I have a little tiny, the plastic hand clappers where you move them back and forth and they clap. And so I just gave each of the kids 2 of those, and we walked around the room and we just shook them, and we kind of like stopped and we sat at the Mayflower compact, and we would really like hit them really hard. And each time we did that, and after we'd sing it through one time, I would stop and we'd walk the other way around the room. That was just to get them up and moving. And then I had them sit down and we read the sentence slowly so they could hear every word. Because sometimes when they're singing, they don't always get all the words. So, and most of mine are not reading yet. So that is what we did for history. For Latin, I got my little pom-poms here. And I have 4 of them. I don't know. My kids have played with them since I had them. So we had pom-poms, and I copied myself from the last cycle through, but the words are different this time. So we did, the old cheer. I say whatever the word is, you say whatever the word is. So I let some of the kids take turns coming up and being the cheerleaders with me. My parents were amazing, and they were a great and hyped up audience for me because the kids were kind of didn't know what was going on. So if you do this with the younger ones, you might want to make sure you've got a few parents in there to answer your call and your cheer. But what I did is I would say, I say et, you say and, et, and, et, and. I say ut, you say that, ut, that, that. So we just went back and forth with the Latin doing that. So you're getting it in several times when you do that, kind of like our Latin chants used to be. You would get it in multiple times, just singing it one time through. So that's what we did for Latin. And then at the end, I would have them repeat it fast, which was et ut non, and then and that not. So you kind of sound like a caveman, I feel like, when you say the Latin that way, but so it's fun to say it that way. All right, for science, science and math. So for science, I did this to the tune of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. They've changed the word, so it's not cranium anymore, it's skull. So the bones are skull, vertebrae, and ribs, sternum, ribs, skull, vertebrae, and ribs, sternum, ribs, skull and vertebrae and ribs, skull, vertebrae, and ribs, sternum, ribs. So for vertebrae, I'm just kind of rubbing the back of my neck. You can let the kids rub their backs down here if that's more comfortable for them. I find it's easier since I'm going from the top of my head down my neck, kind of tickling myself on my ribs and then running my hands up and down my sternum. And then for math, because last week we were just, starting out and just did the 1s and 2s, I went ahead and did jumping this week, but I let the kids come up and circle instead of me circling. So 3 of them got to come up for the 3s and 3 of them got to come up for the 4s. And then my son decided that we should underline some and squat on them. And so we were jumping and squatting and very sweaty by the end. But 3s are to the tune of Jingle Bells and 4s are to the tune of This Old Man. On slight variations on both of those, but that's your basic tune for them for this week. So that was all of new grammar, not too bad. Just a couple things for science and art. So for our campus for art, we are doing tin whistle this 6 weeks just because we can be outside more, and since we're blowing air and COVID and all that stuff, we've moved tin whistle to this 6 weeks. So this is my favorite week of tin whistle, I think, because it's dynamics and it's just really fun for the kids. And I love to sing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, especially because you can do that with your mask on. They don't have to be blowing in their whistle. So if you can't go outside or you can't socially distance like you'd like to, it's an excellent way to do dynamics. Plus, with the tin whistle, you can't really do as broad of a range as dynamics as we discussed in class. So singing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt and just kind of pointing to where we are on the dynamics. Then I let the kids come up and we sang Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and they kind of switched the dynamics around and we tried to follow them, which was interesting and quite difficult. But if they pointed to loud, we would sing it really loud, and they might go to soft, and we just went back and forth letting them conduct us and following their dynamics. Then we also practiced crescendoing and decrescendoing. So we squatted down and then we went and jumped, and that was crescendoing. And then we went and that was decrescendoing. So we did that a couple times. That was what we did for tin whistle. And then for science this week, we did our typical water drops. If you don't know of Nicole Liam, you need to know her. I don't know her. If you're out there and you watch this, I love you. Thank you for all the hard work you put in. She's amazing. She makes these beautiful science sheet every week that has awesome visuals on the back. And they just really help think through the scientific, I don't know if it's method, scientific process, and just how we should be thinking about things. She helps you with answering the questions and things to talk about. She's just excellent. So check her stuff out. And this was also posted on the Facebook group, and so I printed these little cards off, and they are all the different parts of the scientific process. So I think what I'm going to do every week is pass these out in different orders to the kids, and then just ask for, okay, who has asked a question? Let's talk about what questions we're going to ask with our experiment today, okay? Who has researched? I'm trying to find research. Make an observation. There we go. That's that one. And so we're going to talk about what research. What do we already know? What have we already learned? Okay. Then who has hypothesis? And just go through these cards for each step and make sure that they're hearing each step and recognizing what we're doing in each step. So that's something new. I'm trying it. We'll see if it works. Because this for our class was not a really long experiment, I also brought in my beautiful, wonderful, indescribable book. I love this book. And I chose to read page 184. It's number 89, What God Sees. And it doesn't directly talk about lenses, but it does talk about that God sees us and what he sees when he looks at us. And so I talked about that we can look through different lenses. We can look through a lens of being helpful. We can look through a lens of being kind, and that how can we look at people and things like God looks at them. So if you need a little extra, this is a great one to read in class. So that's, again, indescribable. It's wonderful. So anyway, okay, that was all for today. If you guys have any questions or comments or want links for things, I will try to get those to you. You can just leave a comment down below. And if not, I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. We've got a birthday party this weekend, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, I will see you guys here next week. Bye.